You know, it's nice to get back to strategy games. How did you miss that, you absolute buffoon? You're going to be benched for the rest of the game! Real nice. And while I had my issues with it, Triangle Strategy has a lot going for it. The strategic challenge is there, along with nice characters, a well thought out and fleshed out world, and excellent art and music. Triangle Strategy is certainly not a game for everyone, but for many, this game will be your next obsession. Triangle Strategy is a strategy RPG developed by Square Enix and ArtDink and published by Square Enix. It is from Team Asano, named after the producer Tomoya Asano, responsible for Triangle Strategy along with Octopath Traveler and the Bravely Default series. Triangle Strategy is included along with Octopath as part of the HD 2D series, but does not have any direct connection to Octopath's world. The game, like Octopath, started with Triangle Strategy as a project name that eventually became its actual game title, but don't let the silly title stop you from giving the game a try. The game was released exclusively, for now, for the Nintendo Switch on March 4th, 2022. The critical reception was mostly positive, with critics and fans pointing to varied maps and challenges and great art. The story got more mixed reception, mainly due to pacing, and criticisms also pointed to the voice acting and dialogue being stilted at times. However, most critics rated it around 8 out of 10, a very respectable score, and the occasional issues did not deter the game's sales. As of March 18th, it was reported the Triangle Strategy had sold over 800,000 copies worldwide, an excellent sign for future strategy games. That Final Fantasy Tactics port/remake has to happen at some point, right? Now that you know the basics of how Triangle Strategy came about though, let me take you to the continent of Norzelia, where Triangle Strategy takes place. The continent of Norzelia is made up of 3 countries: the Grand Duchy Esfrost, the northern nation that resides in the icy climes and whose main economic output is iron; the Kingdom of Glenbrook, the temperate central nation that is strong in food production and trade management because of the rivers; and the holy state of Hyzant, whose desert locale is home to the Source, the only source of salt in Norzelia. 30 years prior to the events of the game, the continent fell into a massive war called the Salt Iron War due to the resource disparity in Norzelia. After the war ended, the 3 nations entered an uneasy time of peace, but 2 events looked to change that. The first being the opening of the Grand Norzelian Mine in Glenbrook's territory, but excavated with the expertise and financing of Esfrost and Hyzant. The hope is that this new venture would promote peace between the nations and tie them closer together, with the benefits of the mine going to all 3 nations. The other big event is the betrothal of Princess Frederica of Esfrost to Serenoa Wolfort, the scion of the powerful Wolfort house within Glenbrook. Serenoa, of course, is our main protagonist for this grand adventure, and as much as hope abounds at the beginning of the game, tensions remain. The political machinations of all nations are still shrouded, and over the course of the game will become exposed and lead to fresh new conflict. How will Serenoa navigate these troubled waters? It is up to you to decide. The world building and politics of the game are fantastic. I loved diving into the details of the world, and for the vast majority of decisions and dealings throughout the game, I was impressed at the thought put into the story. Those critics who talked about the pacing aren't wrong though. The game starts off very slow, setting up the world and important players, but I do think that was necessary given the amount of world building that is in the game. It does, however, clash with the later, much quicker pace of travel and action in the game. There may have been a better way to balance it, but the story beats and ideas are excellent, and I have no issue with the overall ideas behind the story, just a little with the execution. The game also hosts a cast of strong characters. There are the main 8 party members that you'll automatically recruit. These are the characters that get the most attention and development within the main story, in addition to the side stories available between missions giving even more details. I don't think there was a weak link in this cast, and I highly enjoyed their interactions and journey. There are then other characters that can be recruited over the course of the story based on your decisions. These characters tend to get less focus and don't feel as fleshed out, but they can be charming in their own way and still have connections to the world and events going on. Those details and connections, though, are usually revealed in the character side stories, which you'll get if you use them in battle. The dialogue can be stilted between characters, but for the most part, the writing accomplished what it needed to. I could feel the weight of the decisions characters made and consequences that were felt, and there was a good mix of serious and sincere moments. I think that Triangle Strategy's story and characters don't break new ground, but also avoid going off the rails, just a solid cast and tale. The main meat of the game, though, is the gameplay, from the strategic battles to the route-altering choices with the scales of conviction. After the set of cutscenes and dialogue, you, the player, usually enter one of three modes: battle, scales of conviction, or exploration. During exploration, you go around talking to people, gathering up pieces of information, and picking up shiny stuff from the ground, which are usually useful battle items. Most of the time, there will be particular individuals with exclamation points over their heads who will offer you a dialogue choice. These dialogue choices play into the conviction system that becomes very important for the scales of conviction mode, but I'll get into that more in a moment. I do recommend talking to everyone because they tend to give insights into the events happening in game, and if you're anything like me, you love getting additional story details from NPCs, but that also might just be Trails syndrome in action for me. There thankfully don't tend to be massive amounts of NPCs, so this part of the game is pretty quick unless you want to admire the scenery. I don't blame you. It is gorgeous. In certain chapters after you conduct this exploration, you will be presented then with a choice on how to proceed. This is where the game splits off into different routes, although they do come back together each time until the very last choice, which will determine the ending you get. Your party will be divided on what choice to take, and will vote between the 7 of the main party on which path is best. It is your job as Serenoa to convince them to adopt your route of choice, and this is not always easy. These are the moments when your convictions come into play. There are 3 convictions in the game: morality, liberty, and utility. Each one corresponds with a color, and you'll see based on the red, green, or yellow shading around the decision what type of choice that is. For example, the very first choice on whether to go to Hyzant or S-Frost, the Hyzant choice is outlined in red, meaning it is the morality choice, whereas S-Frost is outlined in green, meaning it is the liberty choice. In order to sway the people to your side, you'll need to choose some dialogue options, some of which you unlocked by talking to people during the exploration mode, and you'll also need good enough points in the conviction of the choice you're trying to convince people to take. To explain further, if you want your party to head to S-Frost, you will need some points in Liberty to be able to convince them, and the game hints at how easy it would be to persuade people with the little blurbs on your likelihood of success. How do you get more liberty, morality, or utility? The dialogue choices from earlier are one way, as each answer gives you a nice helping of points in your choice. However, the game doesn't show you this, so you have to guess which one corresponds with which conviction. Note, New Game Plus does allow you to see the actual numbers. Otherwise, certain actions in and out of battle can give you points that you accumulate, but if you haven't been answering or playing in a certain way, it is going to be very difficult to convince some people to change their minds. After your choice has been made then, it is off to battle and a new type of challenge. Battles take place in various different environments with terrain height differences, choke points, and basically everything you could want to start strategizing before you've even started the battle. Once you've selected your team, you enter battle and the turn order is interleaved between you and the enemies. You fight until either you've accomplished or failed your goal, but in an anti-frustration feature, any experience earned in battle is kept, even if you lose the battle. Each of your units has a specific class and set of abilities. No two are the same, whether that's Frederica with her fire magic or Anna with her poison and daggers. Use Anna. She is an incredible unit. The enemies are less varied apart from the bosses, but don't think they won't be challenging because they certainly will be, especially on normal or hard mode. Some units have weaknesses to particular attacks, along with more standard weaknesses such as attacking from behind or setting up your units around an enemy so you get follow-up strikes after an attack. These moves, taking advantage of the strategy of the game, generate kudos, a currency that can be used in the sundry shop that I'll talk about in the encampment section. The game also has wider general abilities called quietuses, which I routinely forgot exist, but can be highly useful. These can adjust turn order, heal allies, and other things that can save a unit for you or finish off a tough opponent. Just make sure you remember to use them, otherwise you set an unintentional additional challenge for yourself like I did. I will say this style of strategy RPG, interwoven turns between allies and enemies, isn't one I care for as much as Fire Emblem or XCOM, but the battle system was still a lot of fun. when my units weren't missing 90% or above moves that threw off my whole battle strategy. The game also has a weighted XP system that means getting a unit caught up is quite easy, especially with the mock battles you can do outside of story battles. Triangle Strategy lives up to the strategy part of its name with its thoughtful map design, abundance of useful units, and only one series of battles that made me want to throw the controller. While battles are fought on the battlefield, they are won in the encampment, where you have 4 different services to use. The mental mock battles, which enable you to collect resources, gain experience for your units, and practice new strategies. You can do these many times as well. Then you have the standard marketplace where you can buy healing items, elemental attack stones, and buff and debuff items. Mainly I just went for the healing items. Then you have the smithy where you can upgrade your unit's weapons and abilities within those weapons so long as you have the materials from either battle or from the sundry shop. The sundry shop is where promotion happens. Once you have a certain item and your units hit a certain level, these promotions unlock greater abilities. The sundry shop is also where you can use the kudos earned in battle to purchase a limited number of materials to upgrade weapons, promotion items, quietus abilities, and for the cheapest cost, writings about Norzelia and the events going on in the world. Managing your army well is incredibly important in order to be ready to take on whatever challenge faces you next, and the game does give clear instructions in this mode. You just need to then execute it on the battlefield. As should be apparent to any of you longtime viewers of the channel, I adore the HD 2D art style, and Triangle Strategy makes it even more vibrant than the already gorgeous Octopath Traveler. The 3D environment means there's far more detail needed for each scene and location, and the artists really went hard making every part of it crafted for visual pleasure. The water, the plants, the buildings, all absolutely gorgeous, and the character sprites are charming, if a little stiff, a recurring issue with the game. They do have full character portraits though that can be brought up while a named character is speaking to give you a better idea of how they look in all their glory. Musically, the game has a very solid soundtrack, capable of moving between emotions of the different moments seamlessly, but never overpowering them. I'd say it's a very nice complementary soundtrack to the game, but likely not the most memorable one I've listened to. That leads me to the voice acting, which did grow on me over time despite my poor initial impression. This is still a game that I think could have used a voice director that let the actors really go for it. It definitely feels like they're holding back for some reason. I also know plenty of these performers have a lot more variety and talent than they are asked to display in this game. I mean, Serenoa is voiced by the same actor who played Sylvando in Dragon Quest XI. Come on, director, let him work! The performances though are still fine if underwhelming. The UI is easy to navigate, but there are a lot of details to keep track of, so some things do fall through the gaps, like quietuses in battle for me. The game is quite slow with the pacing of the text, especially when a character is thinking with those interminable ellipses. You can speed it up, but that's not always enough. When it comes to presentation, Triangle Strategy has one spectacular area, the art, some solid areas with music and UI, and some areas where it missed the potential, voice acting and pacing. None of it is a deal breaker, but it is good to be aware of before you give the game a try. Triangle Strategy is the game for strategy enthusiasts who are ready to dive into a world of politics and intrigue with gorgeous art and stellar music. For those of you who tend to struggle with text-heavy or slow-paced games, you might want to skip this one, but at least for me, it finally satisfied that strategy itch I've had since the last big strategy game for me came out, which was... XCOM Chimera Squad? Oh dear, it has been too long. If Triangle Strategy sounds appealing to you, I encourage you to give it a try if you've got a Switch, or hope that it follows Bravely Default 2 and Octopath Traveler off the Switch for those who don't have one. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leaving a like and a comment are the best ways to show the YouTube algorithm that this video is actually worth showing to people. If you are new, please check out more of my videos and subscribe to keep up with the channel, and for all of you, I hope you have a great day and happy gaming.